Hey everyone, welcome to The Circle. This episode is the Real Housewives edition, part one, because I think this is going to be a recurring series with probably a fun sort of turntable of folks involved. Of course, everyone here is always going to be involved to come back. I don't mind how big this group gets. I think it should just be a regular, a regular chat. So I want to go around the room one by one and introduce yourselves and just let us know something that is bringing you joy today. Jason? No, I messed up with you. What are we talking about? Morgan?
Oh no. I guess for me right now that brought me joy specifically today is I found some Lucky Charms Pillsbury cookies at the store. And I baked them and they were good. The simple things.
Emilie?
I'm Emilie Battle. What's bringing me joy today is I'm fresh off a weekend getaway where I left my house and just went and sat in a different one that I paid for. But it was a nice reset, so I feel centered.
Ben.
Yes.
Sherz.
I'm Sherz, Aletaha. This cocktail, this mezcal gimlet, is bringing me joy currently. Cheers.
I feel like we're going to have like a drink circle at some point for folks to talk about, because that's something I know very little about, but I feel like you all start getting into it like experts on the mixes and such.
I got you.
Oh, you said Kim.
Exum.
I'm
Kimberly.
tired. I am so fucking tired. I was up till 5 with Jason yesterday self-taping. I am exhausted. But what has brought me joy today? I was listening to Kirk Franklin's Hero album, and it's a really good album. It's old, but it's really good. And that brought me some joy. I also sang a lot in the laundry room because it was empty, and that also brought me joy.
Jason.
Hey y'all, I'm Jason Veasey. And what brought me joy today? My niece Giza is now crawling and she can pull herself up on the couch and stand.
Oh my God.
And I feel like I mean, maybe it's just biased, but I feel like that's early, but maybe it's not. I don't know how these things work with these little human beings. But she's 7 months and she's just turned 7 months.
Has it been
for standing on the...
For being able to pull herself up and stand by herself. Yeah, I don't know.
No, that's on time.
Okay, cool.
They said it's been 7 months.
Maybe a little early. Maybe a little early. Like some kids don't crawl until 9 months. Like there's a range, but like she's like on time. Maybe like a little early.
She's not even really crawling that much. She's just like standing.
She might never crawl.
Yeah, my mom said that. My mom also said that like traditionally girls get there faster than boys.
Like, as he walked at 9 months.
Yeah,
in
like
most subjects we do.
She said we were all past. Well, she was like we were all into our first year before we started walking.
Ooh, the ghetto.
Not the ghetto. So let's jump right in. We're going to start with a freshman season focused chat. So we're going to be talking mostly about Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. They began this year and became, I think, maybe one of the most interesting franchises out of all of them very quickly, especially for a freshman season. So I want to go around and just have each of you are going to say one word that comes to mind when I say this name. And you can just throw them out there. We'll start with Jen Shah.
Damn.
Unhinged.
Too much.
I want to say the A word, but I'm not going to say that.
She'll come get you. She will find you.
Morgan.
I said stress.
Oh.
Stress.
Mary.
Incestuous.
Prayer.
Shady.
Mm-hmm.
Closet. Just trapped in there always. Forever.
Otherworldly.
Heather.
Underdog.
Proud.
I can't think of one word.
Wait, who was the name?
Heather.
Oh, that bitch. I like her.
Fascinating. I'll say fascinating.
Morgan, are you left?
Oh, it's me? Okay. Cocooned.
I just have this urge to say square.
Ooh. That's good.
Whitney. Or I should say
voice.
Whitney. Whitney.
Breasts. Boobs.
Impulsive.
Helium.
You say helium?
Mm-hmm.
Flighty.
Yeah.
What was that, Emily?
Flighty.
Meredith.
Disengaged.
Is there any other word?
Is there disengaged? I'm disengaged.
Lisa.
I just
Meredith?
Wait. Aggressive.
Especially in those shoes running around that in that circle.
Gosh. Just everything she says is so pointed and like
She is aggressive.
it's
She
like
is.
yeah.
That's why them calling Jen Shaw aggressive offended me too. Because I'm like, Lisa's actually really aggressive too. So
Right.
Drew. Fedora.
wigs. Wigs.
Style with a question mark.
Wait.
No.
Not that
What were we
punctuation.
saying?
Drew Sidora
Oh, so
from
we're moving on.
Atlanta.
Okay.
Are we still on Drew? I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say reaching. I feel like she's always reaching.
I will second reaching.
I'll third co-sign that bill.
Thank you, ladies.
Terrible marriage.
Yeah, that marriage gives me anxiety.
Her husband is
Okay, well,
Terrifying.
we'll get to that one. Latoya.
Pass.
I like her.
You do?
Did you say pass?
I said pass.
I like her. I don't know what's one word.
Much.
Cute.
All right.
I mean, like she's like cute, like a
Right.
you know.
I would say she's interesting because I feel like on these interviews, she does way more than she does on the show. Like, have you seen her in like some of the Watch What Happens Lives or the Speak On It kind of situations?
Yes,
she like amps it like through the roof on those, and it's like eek, you're showing me like Jen Shaw kind of tease, but just not aggressive at other people.
Right.
So she's the Lisa Barlow, where like on the show she's one thing, and then in the reunion,
And then in real
she's
life, you're like,
a
oh my
full
God,
other person.
who is this? Who would you vote off the island from this season? And this is gonna be let's start with specifically Salt Lake City. If you had to vote someone off, who would we vote off?
Lisa for me.
I would say Lisa because I feel like we don't need her, but part of me wants to say Jen because I just want to be like, you shouldn't be on reality TV.
Jen is like
To save her.
like, you know, she's great TV, but I'm also like, you have some deep rooted things that like you should probably go to counseling for. But I would say Lisa if I had to choose.
Yeah.
I feel like Lisa just because like, I mean, it's different now that she decided to actually show up for the fucking gig on the damn reunion. But beforehand, to me, she actually really doesn't add anything.
No, she's Meredith's little.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I feel like just like Sherz was mentioning, I feel like on the reunion, they were showing like unseen footage where she was more active. And it was like, did the editing room make her Meredith's minion and she actually wasn't as much? Or is that just so. was she just boring and she just decided to turn it up on the reunion?
I feel like it seems to me that in general, I mean, she's not the only one that's like this, but in general, Lisa's very much about keeping up appearances, not even in terms of like her lifestyle, but like, you know, there are people who, she's one of those people who's kind of just like, well, I wasn't raising my voice, so therefore I'm not confrontational. You know, she wants to like keep it pulled as a means to like maybe stay out of the drama, which is a very common freshman mistake.
Mm-hmm.
The drama will find you.
She also has that Mormon element to her where, you know, she kind of has to keep parts of herself kind of behind a wall.
But you know what but the thing is that like her, well, I actually thought that she had converted and joined Mormonism. She said on the reunion that she was raised, that her whole family is Mormon. So I actually was very interested in the ways that she's been able to be Mormon and live her life differently in the ways that Heather and Whitney say that they were raised.
I feel like she said something early on in the season about like a missionary showed up at their family's door and her mom was like, oh, okay. Like her mom was like, we're signing up for this. And that's how they became Mormon.
She seems to have been less affected by certain levels of the oppression that happened within the culture. It's almost like she's more of like they grew up like Orthodox and she grew up like Reformed almost. She doesn't seem to be as
is that
traumatized as Heather
as traumatized as Heather and Whitney. Yeah. You know.
I also just was able in the reunion to differentiate Meredith and Lisa for the very first time.
Someone else said that. I think it was Kimberly was saying that it was sort of like
the first time that I was like, oh, I see the difference finally in the show. I'm like, I can't.
And sometimes I'm like Meredith, Lisa. The only thing that really stood out for Meredith, like the only reason, because I actually find Meredith to be, I know people love her, but she's kind of
boring.
She's
my favorite.
But I love her drama and I love her marriage drama. And it's such I love when the drama is real. And she brings that. Like no one else is really bringing like real drama. Like this is her actual life. And that's why I kind of appreciate her presence on the show. Whereas like Jen's is fabricated based off of her friends. Everyone else's is just kind of like frou-frou drama. But Meredith is like, you know, she's got some shit going on.
I like that Meredith is cool about it. She's sitting on it and doesn't want to reveal all of her cards. The only thing is when you're on a reality show, it's like you do have to talk, but this is why I was like, it makes me wonder like what their contract negotiations were. Like what did Meredith say to Bravo, for instance, saying like, I'm not going to discuss this, because I remember the other housewives in previous seasons mentioning that when they negotiate, that's when they talk about the things that they'll leave out, the things that they'll keep, the things that are okay.
Like the family talking about Kim's alcoholism and addiction.
Yeah.
Right.
In Beverly Hills.
But the problem is then Seth brought it up on camera. So it made me go, because her face when he did that, I was like, did she know that he was about to reveal this? Or is this like him just throwing it out there?
But I feel like maybe for first season, like you might be able to negotiate, but it's like if I were Andy, I would be like,
you can't do that first season.
We'll just find somebody who's an open book, because we have Kenya Moore on Atlanta. Like her contract must be completely trash, or her compensation must just make up for the fact that she has no outs whatsoever. She has nothing that's not on the table. So I'm just like, I don't know, maybe you get paid less if you have outs, but I'm like, it's their first season. I would assume that's true. Bravo is like, yeah, we're not going to spread the rumor, but we're not going to tell people that they can't talk about it. Like,
well, I also feel like, did y'all notice? I feel like even on the reunion, I feel like there was this thing where like, I feel like Seth wanted to say some more things than, because, you know, with that look back, it's kind of just like, we're doing just fine. You know?
Yeah.
Also,
like, we talked about this in the car. Don't.
You're not going to pull that restaurant thing on me again.
Right. Ever again. Because the thing about it is that, like, you know, I feel like regardless, and I think that a lot of people on their first season want to either they've studied it or they're like, okay, I'm not going to be involved in the drama. And no matter what happens and what you say you're not going to talk about, the art form of reality TV and editing and these people who are professionals, they'll figure out a way to make it happen organically.
Of course.
So you
I
can
also
say you're not
think
gonna
she
talk
was
about it, that's fine.
trying to like, I think she knew that this was going to come up on camera, but I think she thought that she could control the situation a little bit more. Like, this will be my storyline, but only Seth and I will talk about it. And then my annoying son will comment about how his father didn't show up to his super like stupid sweatsuit fashion
That's
show.
my vote. That's my Brooks is my vote for who should not come back.
I was like, let's
Brooks. We
let's
don't want
bring up
Brooks
Brooks. How do we feel about Brooks?
Get him off my
Brooks tricked me.
TV. Off.
And Brooks tricked me because in the beginning I was like, oh, this is fierce. Like, this guy is just like himself. And then slowly I was like, sorry, Emile arrived.
Go for it.
But slowly I was just like, you are too much. First of all, why is your fashion line one single sweatsuit?
He spent his hard-earned money on that.
On that one,
his hard-earned money.
He paid for that with his money. You're like, was it his?
You know what? That's great. As a mother, I'm sure I would be over the moon.
No, you would not.
He's terrible. He's terrible. So,
question. I do have a question. Did he need to stay home from school this semester to make one sweatsuit?
No,
he just wanted to be on the show.
Machines on campus. If it was that intense.
Machines.
So here's the thing. So there are always things that you like someone and then you find out something about them. You're like, oh, their politics. I'm kind of like, oh, that puts a little chink in the way out. So Brooks is that for Meredith and Seth for me. And because remember in the first episode, he says, I've come home to help my mom with all the things that are going on with her and my dad. And I was kind of like, wait, what? This doesn't seem like you're just up in your parents' business enough to know that like your mom needs help at home in this mansion. So that was my first thing. Second of all, the whole situation, how he was handling this whole like I saw her vagina thing, I was kind of like, stop.
That was absurd.
That was ridiculous.
They made it sound like Jen just, threw her legs open and started shaking. I mean, like, come on. Why were you looking that hard for that? Why were you looking that hard to see it? The dress wasn't that short.
Also,
no,
too,
and if anything, it was an accident. Like, that's my thing. Like,
this was not a Beverly Hills moment.
I feel like when children try to act grown and then you want to act like a child. Exactly. If you're going to be grown, then be grown. If you're going to be a child, then be a child. But don't act all like, oh my God, a vagina. We're so uncomfortable. We have to go to Target now. Like,
and I'm also not here for any child telling their parent in that parent's home that they paid for who can be up in their house or not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
It's also like, why is Brooke such an asshole? Like sometimes, children are born with like their own sensibility, like their own, I believe in nurture and nature. Like he was probably like born an asshole, but I feel like they nurtured it. Like, because when Brooke said that she couldn't, because even if Jen Shaw would have ran naked through my house and my child said, she can't be here, I would have said, you need to check yourself at the fucking door because you don't pay no bills in this bitch.
Do we think this is Whitney's house?
Huh?
Is this Whitney's house?
Right.
I also really like to picture.
Well, go ahead.
I like to picture like, here's this child freaking out about accidentally seeing a vagina and that being such a huge storyline. And like, what if these women were just like picked up and dropped off in Atlanta in the bolo scene? Like, what would they have done?
Oh my.
What would have
that would have been great.
So entertaining.
Jen would have jumped right in.
Heather would have been
down.
Down.
You would know Heather wouldn't have been able to find her. She would have been in that room with
She would have been like, it was me. I was in the room.
It was me.
Do it exactly.
And I can totally handle it.
It was me.
I feel like with Brooks too, there's like a level like from Meredith and her husband, like, you know, if parents are divorcing or splitting up, like they definitely feel badly for the toll it's taking on their child. And So I know that parents probably overcompensate with what they allow their child to do or how they allow their child to behave because they feel guilty that they're splitting up the family and whatever. But I feel like Brooks is the type of person who would see that and be like, perfect. Like, I'm gonna milk this. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like like with his fashion show, I mean, I definitely think his dad should have just shown up. Like, he and Meredith should have been like, let's put this
I
for the kid.
disagree.
But but Brooks didn't.
No, does anyone
like, where were you, Dad? You know?
Well, you're right.
She said 5 times.
Is that normal in Fashion Week, though, to have just one garment come down?
No.
Not one.
I mean, I feel like the father is.
It's been worn different ways, but it's one.
Like, they're sensible people. Like, if Ezzy had a fashion show of one garment and she's like, how old is Brooks? 18? Or
20,
20.
21.
Okay, so that's even worse. He's 20 and I'm in Ohio trying to start a business and I'm also on the brink of divorce. If my wife says, I need some space, I'm not going to make this a priority because it's one suit.
Yes.
It's not a line. It's not his Broadway debut.
Right.
And at the end of the day, like, children, especially when you're 20, I could see if he was 10, but like, you're 20 years old. Like, why are you expecting your parents to drop their lives when you have and you have the knowledge that they're about to maybe get divorced? Like, I thought it was so, I could tell that he was genuinely upset. I did feel for him in that moment, but he had no right to be. And and Meredith should not have felt guilty because she needed that space. And I think that was when she asked for that, she wasn't thinking about Brooks, and she shouldn't have to. Brooks is 20 years old.
Exactly. I do feel like Meredith could have helped Seth in that situation by letting her son know he's not here because I asked him not to.
Well, but that's none of Brooks' business. But
that's true.
Meredith's problem is that she allows Brooks to manipulate her emotionally. And Brooks has clearly been doing that since he was a kid and learned that he could say, but mommy, I don't want that. And she'll just be like, okay, sweetie, I'll do whatever you say.
Because as we found out later on in the season, Meredith, one thing that you will not do to Meredith is tell her who to be friends with. And that really, except Brooks.
Except for Brooks.
Except for Brooks. Except for Brooks.
I will say, I feel like the missed opportunity for me as far as the children go is I really would have loved to see more of Robert Jr. because I have no idea what's going on in between here and over here.
Do you think she's a little in love with her son?
You've said that.
I think like she has like a weird incestuous love for her son.
Oh, I don't think that.
Mary.
I think that she's like one of those, she's just very like, you know, those black mothers, a lot of times to me, they tend to just really dote over their sons. Like, you know, like kind of like they're like, you know how cats lick their kittens or some shit? That's what it reminds me of. Like,
do they hate the girlfriends that much? Like, is that a thing?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Absolutely.
And he also bought his girlfriend a Prada purse. I wouldn't like her either.
Right.
Well, but here's the thing. With
her credit card.
Did Mary not like? I don't get the feeling that Mary didn't like her. Mary was kind of just like, stop using my money to buy her designer outfits and things.
The conversation was a little like, the energy in that conversation was a little weird though, and that like, I'm going to be here after she's gone. And
I also feel like there was an element
Mary's
of
used
like,
to being here after she's gone.
I feel like Mary is like hyper aware also of like, we're being filmed, we're going to be on TV. So I feel like in that scene too, she was like, don't use my money anymore. See, I'm a mom.
But yet nobody thought no one thought to just smooth down the top of the wigs. The entire season.
Her cousin really don't like her.
Bravo is like, we do not have a hair. There's no one union on site. We don't have a hair department. We don't have we only have sound. We have the production. We've got that, but we don't have wardrobe. You have to provide that yourself.
She's like, it's that boom mic. It always messes everything up.
I love in the reunion that someone asked, Andy was like, we have a question from so-and-so. And they were like, are there no black hair salons in the city? Like, what?
And Mary was like, no.
Mary was like, no, there's not.
Mary was like, my wigs did look a mess. Like, I did like that about her.
I like that she owned it.
You're right.
Them first episodes was not. They were rough.
I was like, do you wear wigs, Mary? Like, it seemed like she was like, if I just started to wear wigs tomorrow, like I don't wear wigs in real life. And I just was like, let me just grab one of Ezzy's wigs and just throw it on and go outside and film. Like, that's what it felt like. Like Mary's like, someone get me a wig because I need one for Housewives.
Well, I'm a real housewife. I'm black. I need a wig.
It doesn't help. It doesn't help that she's surrounded by a group of white women who just think that everything that she does is extra fabulous.
Wait a minute. Do any of the housewives have just like natural hair? Any of the black housewives?
Kenya.
Doesn't Kenya? Kenya's
Kenya. That's like whole thing.
Kenya.
Right. I was like, Kenya will
Ashley
give you
Darby.
Kenya will give you a U part. Kenya will give you a U part. So
Giselle will give you a natural.
This is true. The Potomac girls do have a little bit more.
Potomac girls, but they are.
Robin.
It makes sense for them.
Robin.
Will give you.
I love when she has her short hair. It's so cute on her.
I just want Robin to give us something.
Oh no. As Karen Huger says, she doesn't get many moments.
And I like Robin, but I'm like, it's just.
Questions. Well, I love this. I love this comparison because we didn't think the Potomac just came up. Would we call Lisa the Robin of SLC?
No, I wouldn't because I feel like Robin does serve a purpose in Potomac, or at least did for a period of time.
I do like Robin. I don't
Me
like
too.
Lisa.
I think she's very likable.
She's beautiful.
Robin is the. I feel like Robin is like the portal for us.
Morgan said Lisa is Wendy.
Lisa?
Aggressive.
Did you like Wendy?
I like Wendy. I mean,
I
think Wendy's very smart, but I just think that when you have a collective of women, there's just this ebbs and flows of like how to interact with people that I don't think Wendy really figured out how to do.
Well, they let her in fully. They fully let her in.
She's arrogant like Lisa. I do. And that's also, I guess, she's Nigerian, right, Wendy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's got that, like, it's a different type of arrogance. I think Lisa has, like, I'm a New Yorker, I dress in all black, and I shop in Soho. Like, she's
I don't
got
hug my
that
children,
arrogance.
I help them start businesses.
Yes, like she's very full of herself, just like Wendy is. But Wendy actually can back it up with, like, her degrees, which gets annoying. You know, they are similar, because when Lisa gets annoying when she's like, my life and my children and my businesses, and you're just like, okay, bitch, we all have businesses and children.
That was so shady when Andy goes, it's so interesting to see you there crying because I was wondering what it was that you'd be vulnerable about.
Right?
Andy,
her answer was so stupid. Her answer was literally like, she started crying. She's like, it's my kids. My kids make me cry. I'm like, I thought she was gonna be like, I look at these kids and I'm so proud. And she literally was like, I look at my kids and they're so proud of their mom. And like she turned around back to her.
Andy, the way that he was flying through Salt Lake City, though, like, I've never seen it. He was like, we have this many questions. We're going to get through all of them. Shut up. Shut your mouth. Sit down and shut your mouth.
Andy learned something. Andy learned from Potomac. I feel like Potomac changed Andy. Like, reunion changed.
Also, you have to remember in the very first episode of the reunion, one of the first things that Andy says, he looks at the whole group and he goes,
"You did
Good
your
job,
job,
ladies." He was so proud.
And they had to do a good job because they were coming like right behind Potomac, who also like kind of knocked it out. And their reunion, Monique turned that reunion out with that binder.
Bravo.
Iconic.
Monique said, this might be my last season, so let me go out with a bag.
Yep, she didn't give up.
Might be.
But not only the binder, it wasn't necessarily the binder for me. What it was for me was, that's his phone number, right? You want me to read it?
I was like, that is his number. 443. That's Baltimore.
Yeah.
So oh my God. So this is not on my list to talk about at all, but we all know that like word on the street is that there was a breakdown that we did not see on the reunion. After the reunion, they all came out, even I think Giselle included, came out talking about Giselle having like a really wild like breakdown during the reunion, like all sorts of F's and all these like a breakdown, and we just didn't see it. And people were like, they were like, what is this? But I was like, do we think that Bravo just sort of takes care of the face of the franchise?
I think so.
I would have loved to have seen it.
I think so. Like, especially, I feel like Giselle, because I think Giselle probably offered them a package. She was like, listen, Jamal said he'll be on the show. However, blah, 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 contract. So I feel like Giselle, because it is not a new franchise, I feel like she would have weight because Jamal would not, I feel like Jamal Bryant is smart and he's not going to show up on a reality show without some
donation offering.
Because he's running a fucking church. So he's not going to be like, oh, my first lady's out here. There had to be something in that contract, and that's probably why Bravo didn't air it. But yeah, I feel like they do take care of their queen bees. Why not? Why wouldn't they?
I also wonder if it's going to be a situation where, like, next season it's going to start with like 6 months ago.
They said it was Wendy. They said Wendy and her husband had drama.
Because I feel like that would also be a catalyst for like the drama that the season will start with is like what happened at the reunion. And so I feel like they'll flash back, like they'll save that footage for like a flashback first episode moment.
In my opinion, at some point and soon, we will need to see something like that from Giselle. Otherwise, it's a wrap for her because right now she's pretty, but she's also extra messy in a non-reciprocal way. What's good for her is not good for everybody else. She's cold as hell. Even to the point where I was agreeing with Jamal when they were in that car having that conversation. He goes, "Well, you've never said any of these things to me. You're not a good communicator."
I agree, but also Jamal is trash. Like I remember
he's trash. He's trash. But for someone who has so many opinions about other people's lives and what they're going on, she needs to show us something real. Otherwise, she's just going to be some cold ass bitch.
Those are the people. Those are the people that always have the most to say. Are the ones that can't keep their own lives together. I would have loved to see her be able to see it. I would have loved to have seen a breakdown so I can be like, oh, she actually does have feelings about things. Right.
It's that same thing. They're looking for the vulnerability.
Yeah.
I feel like they give the star edit to people like they have invested in Giselle, in Portia, and in that girl from Summer House to do that chat room thing. So they're going to get the star edit because they're like, we're putting other money into you. Like, you got to stick around and be likable for people to watch that show.
But how much more dramatic would it be if all of a sudden that person got like a true edit and then they were removed from chat room and somebody else was put in there?
Wow.
Like how, like it's sort of like how shifty would it seem if those seats were like they were in flux? You're never guaranteed your seat on chat room. It can just move around between the housewives.
This is the Hunger Games.
Well, I think the thing about it is that in every franchise, but I think particularly with SLC in general, there was multiple of these. But I feel like in every franchise, there's always someone that we meet that there's a root for factor. Like when we first met Portia. We had a root for factor because of the relationship that she was in. We were kind of we've seen her growth. Heather is definitely, I feel like, the root for person on SLC. You know what I'm saying? Potomac, it shifts. It can shift. I don't know who Potomac would necessarily.
Well, I feel like we're trying to root for fucking Ashley, but she just won't let us.
Right.
Yeah.
Like she will not let us root for her. She's too defensive. I'm like, girl, we see your husband.
Just tell us you guys have a situation. Tell us you guys have an arrangement. Like, just say it.
Or lie. I would be like, girl, we have an open marriage. I would just lie about it until I finally got divorced from his ass, and I'd be like, it was all a lie.
Exactly.
and to tie it into, and the thing is, I don't root for either LaToya or Drew. I just don't care.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't care about, this is sad to say. I mean, I don't really care about, that's not sad to say. I say it anyway. I'm done with Drew. But LaToya, there's, I can't figure her out fully yet.
I don't know what I would root for her.
Right. There's something missing for me. So I feel like I don't.
You know what it is?
I don't really know her enough yet.
For me, I tend to think of, yes, these are real people.
Because she's playing the fence a little bit right now on Atlanta.
I feel like it's a combination of like, I say this with LaToya, I don't believe her. Meaning, I do believe that she is much, but like, especially when we compare someone to like Kenya, no matter how you feel about Kenya, in terms of doing the job and the gig, Kenya is one of the people who is the most unmatched, right? And I feel like right now, I don't believe Toya because I feel like Toya is just throwing so many things. She's trying to figure out which track she's supposed to be.
Because LaToya is also a YouTube personality. So I feel like there's like bits of that keep creeping in the like the things that work on YouTube, the things that work on that sort of like zany, I'm going to show around my whole house and show my children's gifts and my family. That situation is a little different than Housewives. It's like
you still get to choose what you show in that capacity.
Right.
And I think that's hard with like newbies because they have to recognize like they can't control everything about the way that they're perceived on their first season, you know. And I think, like you were saying, Jason, that's what Kenya is so good. I was just telling Siobhan this the other day when we were watching Atlanta. Because he was like, God, she is like a lot. And I was like, nope, she knows her job. Like
she knows her job.
She knows what she's supposed to do to keep her place on this show. She knows to bring certain things up on camera. She knows who to talk. Like she knows her gig. And I feel like when you're brand new, especially when you're coming in, like especially when you didn't start with the show, like all the SLC ladies are starting this together.
Yes.
When you're thrown into, especially Atlanta, which is one of like the most popular ones. Like it's hard to be like, oh, what, like, am I supposed to be super dramatic right off the start? But that's going to make me look like a crazy bitch. I don't want to be too boring. Like, I'm sure it's hard to navigate.
Also, too, the thing is that like, as we learned with Miss Snoozy Tanya, who needs to go.
She's gone.
You know,
she's gone now.
She's gone now. Here's the thing: it's one thing for you to try to assert yourself, but be careful with who you're doing it. Tanya tried Kenya.
What, on this trip?
Look what happened.
Also,
no,
Cookie Lady.
Just random. Oh, you're talking about Cookie Lady.
And the Toya. Now you put yourself to be a mentee of a protege of Kenya, and now you're flipping it on her. Beware, honey.
But that conversation was, I only saw the like latter half of Atlanta last night.
I have a crush on you.
That I have a crush on you thing. I was like, what? I'm confused. Is this a lesbian moment? Is this like
are you serious? Are you just throwing a new thing in the pot to keep yourself spicy?
That's what it seemed like.
Just like what? But I didn't think LaToya was wrong for that. Like, I understand like playing the game, but like her saying like in the episode before, like I see why I have a problem with Kenya. Like, yeah, this is why people have a problem with Kenya. Yeah. But I also just don't like when Kenya is like, she tried to do that with Cynthia with Nene, and I guess she kind of succeeded. But like, you know, pretty much saying like, you're my friend, like that kind of thing. Like these girls don't have the capacity, like LaToya doesn't have the capacity to disagree with you.
Sure.
Still be your friend. And I know that Kenya's doing her job, but that's what I don't like about Kenya. It's like, you want your friends or your friends to always side with you. And that's not how it is. The only person she lets do that is Cynthia. And I don't know why, because she really loves Cynthia, I guess. Like they have a real
friend.
But to me, the way that LaToya did it, to me, it would be different if LaToya was kind of like, girl, you know what? I actually didn't disagree with that. That looked like LaToya being like, I'm playing my move now for the show. It didn't look like I'm disagreeing with you. It looked like she was playing a card.
And the problem with that is also on another show, and then on another show, when Candy and LaToya were in a room chatting, LaToya then started going after Candy for the very opposite thing. Like it's almost like she was fighting on Kenya's side to Candy. It was like, well, wait, that's why I was like, you're figuring out like you need to figure out what is your actual situation here, because you said you threw up and went to bed after. Right. So really you have nothing to do with this then. Right. You had your fun and went to bed. It's not about you.
Mm-hmm. She's just a friend of, this season?
Yeah, she's a friend of, right?
I think she's a friend.
And Drew's an actual housewife.
No, I think LaToya and Drew are housewives.
Oh, really? Both holding the peaches?
I think they're both.
That's true.
I think they're both new.
Oh, really? I thought it was just Drew.
Is it just Drew? I'm not sure.
Drew holding the peach.
Like,
Drew definitely has a peach.
What's her storyline? Drew, I mean,
we've never met or seen her man.
I think that's fine, honestly, because like that man has a right to not be filmed.
Of course.
But I'm kind of like, I can't remember if she's getting a divorce and she's
separated.
It makes me wonder if he's on her YouTube page. Because if he's like already out there, then it'll be interesting. But I think that's what it is that they're having relationship things.
Yeah.
That was like one of the big things. Separated. She was like, I'm separated and I can date and like do whatever I want because we're separated.
Like divorce, separated. But yeah, Drew, I want to see Drew in the first half of this episode because Drew bothers me just because like she's in a relationship with a narcissist, and she also is one, because she's participating. She's not participating in being emotionally, I mean, she is being emotionally manipulated, but she's actively participating in this and like acting as though like this is like, it just seems like it's two narcissistic people like in a relationship with each other, but her husband just kind of beats her at her own game in a sense. Like
I think yeah, like when they were having a conversation, she was telling him about what happened or whatever, and it didn't seem like he was tripping at all, really.
Oh, he'll bring it up later.
Say what?
Oh, he's gonna bring that shit up later for the rest.
Oh, yeah, he'll use that against her later.
He is, but
he already saw it. He was wiring into the cameras.
But right, exactly. But here's the thing: what she did was she goes. I'm telling you, unlike you're not telling me about Tampa. You could have just told your story, but you decided to bring up Tampa again, which I understand. But like, well, now it's going to be a fucking situation.
I just also feel bad because now at this point in the season, I feel crazy because I remember when they showed us the Tampa situation, I was like, oh no, you don't leave for 3 days. I have so much to say. But now I'm kind of like, I see why you would leave for 3 days. It was you and your mother. Like, this is a lot of people in the house, and you're acting like this.
I totally
everybody
see
would
why
need a break
now.
now. Right? It's like he has his issues, but like
Yes.
He is a walking, breathing. He
Something
bleeds.
still ain't right.
narcissism.
He don't sit well with me.
Like there is something. He's smirking a
Horrible.
little bit, and I'm like, oh, there's something definitely, because I feel that smirk would have triggered me. I would have got a bottle and bashed it across his head. Like I'm like, I would have. It would, that kind of behavior, like it incites me into rage. Like don't
the whole scene, that scene where she was like, well, where did you go? What? That whole scene, it was like one big trigger for real.
It was a trigger.
The dinner table scene,
Yes.
the dinner table,
the anniversary dinner, the anniversary or whatever.
I was losing my mind. Like, how are you gonna make her feel badly somehow because you decided to peace out for 3 days, not tell her where you were? Like, if that happened to me, I would first of all just be worried. I'd be like, "Are you okay?" Like,
I would be worried.
He said that after he goes, "What text did you send that I not immediately respond to?" That's what I was like. It's one of those things where like I don't think there's an excuse for leaving for 3 days.
No.
I don't think there's anything that will justify you just stepping out.
Not the first time he's done this.
But exactly. But I was also like, this is your 6th, 7th year anniversary. Like I feel like by now you know this man. Like by now this is not so distant.
And also when you were texting him, what were you texting him? You didn't get any information from him? If you said
he texted you right back every text you sent. You never asked, where are you?
So she probably did ask where he was, and he was like, "I don't know, where are you?" Yeah, like he probably did.
It's the emotional manipulation.
I'm on planet Earth underneath the stars. Like he could have done any crazy shit.
Also, what's maddening is that like if you have me under constant 24-hour surveillance, you better fess up to where you're at too. Because
it's emotional abuse what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's
for sure.
And so I also like I can't even be like, well, it's been like 6 years, so because she's a victim of abuse, and women who are, or anyone who's a victim of abuse has a lot of trouble getting out of it, especially when you're married. It doesn't have to be like him beating her up for her to have a hard time getting out of it. And I feel like the thing with men like him who are manipulative and like emotionally manipulative like that is he could say 50 shady ass things, but one right thing.
Oh yeah, and that just
and she'll be like, you know what, you're right. I'm so sorry. I was being crazy. Like we don't have to talk about like it. That's what happens. You know,
it makes me wonder what her mother has to say about all this.
Oh, I think her mother's also emotionally abusive in a way.
Yes.
I don't know.
She's just there.
To her, you mean?
To her and to I think to both of them actually. Mm-hmm. I think that her mom has like a control thing. They said her mom's a
do praise and worship.
I know, I do know like amazing preachers who are not emotionally abusive manipulators and liars, but you know, it just seems like if my mother, like I will say, like my mother has witnessed a volatile relationship that I've had, and my mother was like, bitch, this is volatile, and this is actually triggering for me because it reminds me of my old relationship with your father, and I was like, it's so in it that I was just kind of like, well, sis, it's my life, da-da-da-da. I don't want you to say nothing. And so she stopped saying stuff, but she didn't live with me. If my mother lived with me, now she would say stuff to him, you know, and she would, like, if I asked her for advice, of course she didn't completely like, well, fuck y'all. Like, she wasn't like that. But like, I feel like a mother who's witnessing her child getting manipulated and abused, especially if she's experienced it, she would say something, especially if it was on TV. You know, like, if
do you think they're
a
behaving a certain way because the cameras are on and it's like, no, this is like, we got to keep up appearances?
I think they are, but I think that they're so narcissistic that they don't even understand that they're doing the narcissistic behavior. Like that therapy session or whatever that was, like, my mom would have been like, y'all, is there a professional in the goddamn house? Like, my opinion is that y'all don't need to be together.
Not this Bravo appointed therapist.
I was like
an intern from
like, Dr. Jeff, you're gonna
like that. To me, that situation proved that her mother had something up with her, because it just doesn't make any sense. Like, your daughter is clearly in crisis. She's in crisis, and this man is the cause of the crisis, and you see it.
She was in the next room during that dinner scene.
Didn't she go cry to her mom?
Yeah. And your mother, I mean, there has got to be, now maybe
I hope it was her mom. I hope it wasn't the camera people she was doing that to.
I thought it was her mother.
I thought it was her mom.
I hope it was her mom.
I was just driving back from upstate, and Siobhan and I were listening to the Dirty John podcast, which I don't know if you guys have heard the podcast or seen the show on Bravo, but both are phenomenal, crazy. But it's, long story short, about this like sociopath, stalker, crazy person who like manipulated this older rich woman, blah, 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 blah. But the thing that's so crazy is all the people in this woman's family see like red flag, this guy's shady, there's something not right. And her mother was like, he just seems lovely. And she's like, Mom, he like set up cameras in the house and he tells me what to wear and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, he just loves you. That's all it is. You know, and it's like the same vibe. And then what's crazy, just quick side note, the sister of this woman who was manipulated by Dirty John, her sister was shot in the head by her husband, who was also possessive, manipulative, narcissistic, all the things. He shot her and killed her. And their mother was like, I still love him, you know, and people say that I'm crazy, but I know he killed my daughter, but I still
So they're all victims.
But she was also very, very Christian, very like, it's the Christian thing to do is show love and blah, blah, blah. And so it reminds me of like this mother dynamic of like, you are seeing your daughter in crisis, but like, do you not want her to be alone? Do you like, what is the justification for it?
Maybe the family thing, but it's just like, I know that like, if you ask your parents to back off, typically, because you're grown, they're going to back off and they're going to let you live your life until something happens where it's like, well, no, you know, or like, I mean, I respect my mother in that way because me and my mom are like, you know, we're like best friends. And she was handling it like, you know, like that, and that she was a mother. And I was just like, you know, there's a boundary here that I've put in place because, you know, this is the father of my child or whatever. And I think for Drew, it's possible she put that boundary there, but I know good and goddamn well that my mother would not be living in the house with me.
Witnessing,
my mother literally could not handle it. She could barely be here to take care of the baby and witness it because it was so triggering for her. And mothers oftentimes blame themselves for the situation that their kids are even in. So that's why Drew's mother really makes no sense unless she has those traits, because Drew seems narcissistic too. She also seems like an eternal, like a victim that doesn't quite understand that she's a victim.
Right.
And maybe she's so used to this behavior because her mother also was in her head. I don't know. I think
it just runs deep. Whatever the situation is, it's like it's some deep rooted shit.
I feel bad for them kids.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a bit generational too, because like abuse has been around forever. It's horrible, of course, but I feel like for older generations, they think of abuse as a physical thing, whereas we think of it as physical, mental, and emotional.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So like maybe it's not clicking for them all. Like my mother, who's not very old, this has nothing to do with Housewives. she had watched some like random production of Phantom of the Opera that was available when quarantine first happened. And she was like, it's so romantic. And I was like, Mom, Mom, that is a deformed stalker who murders people in order to get what he wants from this woman, from a teenage girl, I should say. Like, it's not romantic. Yeah. And she literally, her response was, but what happened at the end? You let her go. God. And I was like, I need so much therapy. Thank you, Mom.
But I also think it's a generational thing to also be like, well, does he take care of you? Does he provide for you and your kids?
Right.
Does he, you know, like that's kind of what people equate being a good husband with. And like, I think it's definitely more our generation to be like, yeah, but does he like fill me up emotionally? And like, is he aware of his traumas and how they're affecting our relationship? Like, that's important.
I think it's definitely possible for sure, but like, I guess everyone in my family has been divorced except for like my aunt. Like she's been married since she was like 18, but my mom has been married twice. My dad is remarried. My grandfather was married for 3 times. My grandma was married twice. So everyone is just kind of like, I was divorced for a reason. Don't take any shit. Like, so like my mom really threw out the term codependent. She was like, y'all are codependent. I was like, what? She was like, yeah, you codependent. My therapist back when I was in therapy in 1989 said that. I was just like, girl.
It also makes me think, and this is just my mind going to like other imaginary situations, but I'm kind of like, because I didn't really know who Drew was before the show, but you know,
the game, girl.
The game.
Well, I forgot about her being on the game. It wasn't like she had an arc, but it wasn't like, you know,
I love that LaToya pulled that out. I was like, that was so many years ago.
But maybe based off of the dynamics that we're talking about, I also wonder if that relationship has played into her not being as visible in her career. I'm kind of just like, I wonder if at all. Also, too,
it was supposed to push her forward, that game arc. Because like Eva was on the game, like you saw all those celebrities that were on the game.
But the relationship,
yes, but the relationship, because it seems like he has to, you know, if he's got cameras on you 24/7, I'm also not going to be surprised if he's also saying, no, you're not going to do this. Or was he ever managing her career? Did he ever have his hands in her career?
Yeah,
like, you know what I'm saying? Like what does he do?
You're right.
I know of a situation similar to this to someone who obviously I won't name, but like they were in a relationship with someone who her boyfriend set up cameras in their apartment to like keep tabs on her and would get mad if she was off camera and he wasn't aware of the reason.
If she was off camera?
If she was off, like if he was at work and looking
out of that closet,
he had left and was off,
out of the frame.
Are you dressing?
What is it, a baby monitor where he can buzz in like, hello?
But
they also
now are like,
he also a motivational speaker? Does he speak?
I think his website says he's like a motivation. He's like one of those people that like helps that type of person that like helps artists get to where they want to get. He helps children. He's like horrible. By the book, he would be to someone's mother like, this is a catch. This is a great guy to have.
Yeah, it's like The Undoing. Did y'all see The Undoing? Where he was like, I treat children's cancer, but I'm a murderous sociopath.
And it's not like he's ugly. It's not like he's ugly.
Not even a little bit.
I also sometimes think, like, do these women know, I need to get out of this marriage. Let me go on this show, and this is my out. The world will see.
I think that's what Taylor Armstrong did.
I would say Taylor.
That's what Taylor Armstrong did, I think. I think
Taylor did.
Taylor has said like being on the show kept her safe. Like she felt like she didn't, if she knew she was filming, she had to go to lunch with someone, she had to go to this event for the show. She knew that she didn't have to be home because her husband was beating her ass. Like,
and he probably eased up on the beating because he knew that she was going to be on camera.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's what she said. Because he didn't want, like, you know, she had bruises or whatever on camera.
That was so sad.
That was Lisa Vanderpump calls out. You can't cover this with makeup, Lisa.
Or Camille. But now we said it. Oh
my God,
Camille. But Camille was. You could tell that what's his name? Kelsey Grammer. You could tell his ass didn't want to be with her. She was in the dressing room. He was just as stiff and cold and dry. Like he was just like, I was like, oh, he's about to
That's
leave.
because his girlfriend was just in the other dress. She was in the other dressing room.
She was right around the corner. Okay, so wait, question. So in terms of like, since we're talking about like debuts and firsts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Out of SLC, who do we feel gets the Bravo Debut Performance Award for a first timer on their season? Who do we think gets the
Wait,
the
Jason,
award?
who's running this chat? Whose room is this?
I was actually thinking that. I was like,
No.
I was thinking that too.
I was like,